Hello, beautifuls. Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you for joining me this evening, today, wherever you are in the world. It's my evening. And I'm really excited because I haven't gone live. I think I went live on YouTube once ages ago and it really went wrong. So I'm now going to be doing my regular self-love talks every Thursday live on YouTube instead of Facebook and wherever else I was doing it on those various groups. So I'm really excited that whoever's joining me tonight, leave a comment, say hi, let me know where you are joining me from. And I don't know if anybody will come onto this live because it's new, but if you are here, thank you for showing up. And if you're watching the recording, thanks for being here as well. Just checking in with all of you, how you are doing. I hope you're all feeling really, really well. And that you're riding the incredible energies that have been going on and only increasing and increasing ever more so. And I'm really excited as well to be talking about this topic tonight of whether or not our souls make a choice, how we're incarnated, who we're born as, and what life we're born into. And this comes especially for a few of my clients who've been asking me recently, do we really choose to come into the life where as babies or children, we suffer abuse, torture, rape, pedophilia, this horrific stuff that people go through? Do we really get choose to be born into dysfunctional families where we have narcissistic or abusive parents or negligent parents, or do we really choose to come into lives where we're going to suffer enormous pain? And I think the reason that they ask that, and maybe you've been wondering that too, is because we see children as so pure and innocent that how could they possibly choose to come into a life where they're treated so horrifically? And now more than ever, that seems such a prevalent topic. And it's really hard for some of you out there, I know, to understand that and to get your head around it and to kind of make peace with it in your heart and soul, because it's very traumatic and disturbing when we see our children being treated in such a way. And we know that these are major atrocities going on all over the world and have been for a long time. And we're just starting to see now more than ever how intense and prolific that is. It's horrible. So I understand if you're feeling the trauma for that. And I extend my love to you, and I'm sorry that that is traumatic for all of us, for everybody concerned, because we're all one family, aren't we? We feel everything. And also, just to let you know, I'm also going to talk about disconnection from the soul. And this comes from a conversation I was having with my 20-year-old son the other night. We were talking for absolutely hours. And towards the end of that time, he started asking me what I thought about souls and can souls become disconnected from the body? And I know that some of you have also been having these thoughts and maybe even conversations about it, because maybe you've seen the movie, it comes from the book series, The Northern Lights, and the movie's called The Golden Compass. It's quite an old movie now, it's a children's one, it's very beautiful, but it's also quite scary because these mean people kidnap children and they hide them and put them in a facility, a locked facility, and they put them through a procedure of separating the child from what's called in the movie their demon. And their demon represents their soul. And the demon in the movie is their little creature. It's like their animal, the animal version of them, or their animal companion. And in the movie, they're separated. And it's to really harness the energy of children and stop them growing up, and to capture their innocence, to capture their spirit. So some of you may also have heard or read about information of what's going on in the world at the moment, particularly regarding certain corporate or medical interventions to do with needles. I'm not going to actually put everything into the exact words, but you can, I'm sure, guess at what I'm stabbing at here with my descriptions. that these certain these shots are in fact dangerous, and a lot of people are very concerned that they are possibly responsible, or perhaps there's a kind of nefarious agenda behind these for human beings to be separated from their souls. And what does that mean? And is that true? And is that possible even to disconnect from the soul? So I'm not going to go into the whole, is that a real thing, or is that a conspiracy, or, you know, any of that stuff regarding the medical intervention. I'm just going to concentrate on whether or not a soul can be disconnected, and if it is, what to do about it. So I hope that this is going to resonate with you, and if it does, please leave comments and let me know. And if you have further questions, I'm more than happy to do my best to answer you. And Donna, hello, lovely. Thanks for being here and supporting. So I just want to say as well, I share everything from a personal experience basis. As a soul reader, I have my perception of how things seem to work to me. And my knowledge is quite large, but it's also limited. You know, I don't know everything. And there may be other people out there with different views and opinions. I'm just going to share with you what I feel is about right according to what I've experienced. And I don't expect any of you to agree with me. I'm just going to literally share what I feel and what I think. So thanks for listening to that as well. And I hope that it's useful. This is the whole point, that this is useful to you. So where should we begin? Does a soul choose, number one, to incarnate? Now, from what I understand, everything in this universe has the potential to be conscious or unconscious. So the universe itself, matter itself, energy particles itself, consciousness itself it's literally conscious. The love is conscious. It's everything in creation, everywhere, has its own consciousness. And then we as a being have the gift of our own personal consciousness, a unique consciousness from our perspective and our soul and our little drop of spirit to integrate, not to integrate, but to relate to everything that is us and is around us in this multiverse. And that we can choose to be conscious of that or not. So when we become conscious of something, let's say I'm always breathing. Most of the time, people don't even notice or think about their breath. It just happens 24 hours a day, every single day for their entire lives. And how many times do you actually not just notice it and go, oh yeah, I'm breathing, but to actually give your full presence, your full consciousness, all of your awareness potential, and become fully conscious of your breath. Now, even that term fully, I'm not even sure one can become fully, because at which point is fully conscious when I don't know what the limits of consciousness are. Maybe consciousness itself is infinite and constantly expands. That's my feeling about it. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I feel about it. It's limitless. So I can't be fully conscious because there's always another level of full, but I can tune in and develop and grow my level of conscious awareness with my breath. And the more that I do so, the more activated my breath becomes, right? I'm engaged in a relationship. So instead of just being solo, my breath's doing its thing, giving to me, I'm now engaged in a relationship. And I'm in communion with my breath, in a conscious, loving communion relationship, which is expansive. It's massively creative. The potential there for more expansion, more creative potential, more awakening, more of everything becomes possible. It's just like when you're in a relationship with somebody else. It's like the world is your oyster. It's your potential is not just doubled, but maybe, you know, you're not just 1 and 1 makes 2, but 1 and 1 makes 11. It's massively what's the word I'm looking for? Magnified. So how is it then with the universe and with my soul? Now, I know that as a consciousness within the universe itself, I've been given and you've been given an individual identity. And that individual identity is like a drop in the ocean. And you're still the ocean, but you're also the drop. You're not separate from the ocean, but you have an experience of being separate as a drop as well. Now, that's what I call the spirit. The everything, the pure spirit, the pure consciousness of everything. And then you have your own unique essence, your own unique version, that droplet, and that's your spirit. Now, to me, a soul is when your spirit has gone through a journey. And let's say you're that little drop of water and you have a memory of the other droplets of water, and you have a memory of tides and currents, and then you have a memory of being washed up onto a beach shore, and then you have a memory of, I don't know, you having the journey, right? You're having the journey. And so as a soul, the soul is the memory field of the spirit accumulating experience. So my soul is a huge library, as is yours, a huge library of everything that your spirit has ever experienced, ever, 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 including not just your separate experience, but the whole collective experience of the ocean, because you're part of the ocean. You never stopped being separate from the ocean. You just had an apparent separation, and you always come back to the ocean eventually. Does that make sense? And you're always going to be in... there's always going to be, you're part of the collective, so you're always going to be able to tap into the collective of what's going on in the ocean of consciousness, right? So that's the soul. I hope that makes sense. You're the library, you're all the memories that's ever happened. So that library, all these experiences are a certain set of vibrations and frequencies, things that were kind of good, things that were not kind of good, things that were traumatic, things that were incredible and mind-blowing and expansive. And you've got each one of those memories has a different vibration, some like high vibration, some low vibration, and everything in between. And so collectively, you're going to be having an emission of frequency, if you like. Now, for your soul to transform into a human body, or to be merged with a human form, let's say, you have to meet a human form that's already existing, that has a similar frequency to you. And I'm going to call that a vibrational match, when, let's say, your mother has a certain vibrational signature, certain experiences logged in her soul memory that have certain vibrations. And you have similar or matching, let's say, it could be the equal of, but also the opposite of. So they still fit together. They're still a vibrational match. And I've done other videos on vibrational matching if you want to watch that. But essentially, you will consciously choose, because you're still consciousness at that point. You're not in the physical form where we forget our consciousness, and we forget that we're breathing, and we forget where our bodies came from, and we forget a whole bunch of stuff. But before we're in the physical form, when you're in your pure vibrational form, you are consciously choosing, and not choosing just randomly going, oh, which one would I like to have? It's a vibrational match situation where, in order for you to come into a human form, you're going to need to choose a human form that has a similar vibration to you, or somebody that's going to come into human form that's already chosen like her vibrational matching, which is her mother's, your mother's mother. Do you see what I mean? So it's like whoever's already on the planet, you get a vibrational match to. Excuse me. And what's often the case is that you will have not just a vibrational match in terms of your soul memories, but also your memory of each other in other lifetimes, let's say, past experiences, where you've got unfinished business with each other. You've got open loops that need completing and resolution to happen in your relationship, because the universe is always seeking to find harmony with itself, to close the loops, to come back into peace, and to resolve, excuse me, all and any disharmony and trauma. So you are going to be naturally magnetized to, vibrationally matched to someone that you have a soul connection with already, and that you will have a vibrational match too, in terms of what you need to resolve in your experiences together. Anything that's outstanding that wants to complete and come into harmony, and it's that there's a match between you, that you can help one another, or that one can help the other. So how does this fit in to little kids, or maybe you are one of these little kids? I've been meeting a lot of women, particularly women recently, who've been talking about their childhood abuse and the paedophilia that happened to them. And I mean, it's hard, isn't it? I mean, it's difficult when we realize just how many children are affected by this. And I know that we're going to, as a whole species, as this rug gets pulled up a bit more and a bit more and a bit more, every day gets pulled up a bit more, and we get to see a bit more of that horrible stuff that's been swept under the carpet, that's been done not in love, that's been done in hijacking of the innocence, that's being done in dysfunctional behavior, that's being done in self-hatred, and that self-hatred being afflicted on the innocent and the young around those people. I mean, it just seems to be getting worse, but really we're just lifting the lid on what's been there for a very long time. And it's like, oh, and it's bad, but that lid must be lifted, and these things must be brought to the surface. And any of you that are watching this that have had horrible abuse happen to you as a child, I absolutely encourage you to find a safe place, a person that you trust, reach out, share, connect, make it known, speak your truth, and come together with other people that have been through something similar, that can heal and support you. There's many healers out there that can heal and support you, and that's why we're really here right now. So, but coming back to this, do we really choose this? And maybe you're one of those victims and you're going, Tara, how on earth did I possibly choose that? I wouldn't choose that for myself. Why would I choose that? And it's not that, I don't want to say that you necessarily, no, I am going to say it. Forgive me, but I'm going to say it. Your soul, I believe, from my experience, chose those experiences. Now, for whatever reason, there will be a vibrational match to the parents you were born to, and whether they were there for you or not there for you, and how you were treated in that home environment. And you will have a vibrational match. I know, right? I'm feeling you. So if you're going, yeah, but maybe you had particularly horrible parents who were the abusers. How would you choose that? There's unfinished business there, my friend. There's an experience there that needed to happen, that maybe doesn't make sense here in the mind, because also the mind is full of trauma already. We get blinkered and blinded by our trauma. We can't see straight, and we're also not engaging with all of our senses. We're just coming from quite a limited perspective and going, yeah, but this happened, and how is that thing happened? And it's really hard to see a bigger picture in that space. And that's why I urge you to go and be able to get some healing so that you can recover from trauma. Because when you start to heal the trauma and the senses start to calm down, and you can engage with your other senses, with your internal wisdom, you can connect more with your soul. You are going to be able to find bigger answers to these questions that will make sense. Right? Not everything makes sense up here. Sometimes it just makes sense in the body or the heart or the gut or the womb or somewhere, but it will make sense. And it doesn't make it okay that it happened. It's just that there's something in there, like every trauma, like every bad thing that happens, there's a silver lining, there's the equal and opposite, there's the empowering, there's the good, there's the love, there's the gift in it, there's always the treasure in these darkest places. So when a soul has chosen, like a little baby or a child has chosen, obviously not from the human conscious mind, right, from a soul perspective, chosen to have a life where they are suffering great abuse. There's so many facets to go into why they would do that. I couldn't even begin to answer why, because it would be unique to every single soul that chose that. But in the grand scheme of things, things repeat again and again and again, and situations get worse and worse and worse and worse, magnified, intensified, more obvious. Like if you don't treat a minor inflammation in your knee, for example, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse, and then you can't walk, and then you're using a stick, and then maybe eventually one day you'll be like, huh, maybe I better sort my knee out, right? Because it has to get so bad and in your face before you often will actually go and give it some proper attention and some consciousness, rather than just going, just ignore that. And it's because we've ignored these atrocities on our planet for so long, or human beings haven't known what to do about it. They've felt disempowered, they've felt enslaved, they've felt trapped, they've felt blackmailed, they've felt helpless, whatever it was. They didn't have the right information, they didn't have the right backup. Maybe there was too much suppression. I don't know, it could be any of those things. But for whatever reason, certain things, like everything that I was saying earlier, has been swept under the carpet, has got worse and worse and worse and worse, and is built up. So how does it get worse? Because more souls say we need to magnify this problem, because that's the way to get the conscious attention of human beings, of all human beings, because we all share the history. We've all come from a lineage of where there's been some kind of abuse, some kind, murder, rape, torture, mental, emotional, physical, whatever it could be, spiritual. We all come from the history because we've come from a history of ignorance. We've come from dark times. We've come from times where there's been already like loads of wars on this planet in recent years, and in, you know, for many thousands of years, there's been wars on this planet. There's been a lot of wrongdoing. There's been a lot of, you know, anti-life and sabotage and hijack of the feminine and the divine masculine and the child, and hijacking of what's pure and beautiful and real and honest and good and divine, because that's what war does. It wants to take life. It wants to it wants to kind of shadow everything. And the beings that want to do that, or the energies or the consciousness inside a human being that just wants to keep denying and keep being in that darkness, has been very powerful. And it's taken an enormous amount of effort and an enormous amount of souls to be born to this planet to find, it's not hard to find, that's what I'm trying to say. It's not hard to find a parent to be born into that has this trauma in their ancestral lineage, or has it in their soul history, because pretty much everybody has to some degree or another. And so how we can't, be born into the world and say, okay, nothing, I'm not going to have any of that linked to me. It's got nothing to do with me, because that's so prevalent on this earth, that in order for any single one of us to be in peace and to be in true peace and harmony, we're the drop in the ocean, we're part of the collective. I cannot fully be in total peace until everybody else on this planet is. Does that make sense? I mean, I can in my own individual, unique, sovereign self. I can be in peace in myself. And yet when I'm connecting and being conscious of the collective, and I'm aware of the pain and suffering, and I'm aware of the pain and suffering of the children. No, every single one of us is invested, and very much vested interest in resolving and healing this massive dysfunction of humanity. So some of us will say, okay, I'm going to go through my own pain and trauma and learn how to heal myself, and therefore I'll be able to learn to heal others. And some people will come into the planet and they'll be like, I'm going to experience this really badly so that it gets highlighted. And I'm going to add more fuel to the fire to make the fire bigger so that the people see the fire. And finally, everybody wakes up and pays attention and does the responsible thing that needs to be done. And that is owning the responsibility that every single one of us had a choice to keep ignoring and pushing it under the carpet, or feeling helpless or just incapable, whatever, some way through our innocence, through our naivety, through our ignorance, through our trauma, through our dysfunction, for whatever reason, that we couldn't bring it to the surface before. It wasn't talked about, maybe it wasn't highlighted, people weren't flagged up as dangerous, the information wasn't shared, maybe it's before the internet, there's so many reasons why. But every single one of us made a choice, either consciously by properly thinking about it and feeling about it, or made a choice by choosing not to think about it, not to be fully conscious of it, and sweep it under the carpet and leave it for somebody else to sort out, hoping it would just go away and that time would bury it and we could all get away with it and it would be fine. Somehow, someday, somehow magically, it would all work out. And we didn't have to actually take responsibility and grow up and say, hold on a minute. This is our community, this is happening to. This is our children, this is happening to. This is ourselves, this is our soul group, this is our collective humanity that this is happening to. And take responsibility as a human being for the family, as part of the collective, as part of the problem, if you like. Every single one of us has made a choice to be conscious of it or not conscious of it. And every single one of us makes a choice to incarnate in some way, to either be part of the problem, in other words, to exacerbate the issue, to make it more visible, or be part of the solution, as in offering and providing services and support to help and heal. So it comes from both sides. And one isn't greater than the other. It's just that soul went, I'm going to be able to do that really well. Maybe I've done victim really well in my past lives. Maybe I've had a lot of rape and torture in my past lives. Maybe, I've done that to other people. Maybe I'm just here and I'm a strong soul and I've got a connection to the person that's going to do this to me, or the people that are going to do that to me. Maybe it's a religious thing, maybe it's a cult thing, maybe it's a cultural thing, maybe it's a family thing, and you've got a connection in there in the soul, and you say, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to take on these seemingly very horrific experiences, very traumatic experiences, so that it can be resolved, so that it can be seen, and so I can finally heal, or be the ambassador, if you like, of healing for that particular cult, religion, culture, family, the perpetrators. And you're going to come in and enable that group of people or person to be exposed, because they too are seeking healing. This is the important thing. It's like you can't have the victim without the perpetrator, and you can't have the perpetrator without the victim. The two go together. You can't, it's like having one side of a coin. You can't, you need both sides of a coin. And in a way, everybody is a victim in their childhood of being abused in some form or another, even if that abuse feels like negligence. So there's a lot of vibrational matching going on, as you can see. And the same stories get retold again and again and again, in order for everything, because this is the universe constantly breathing and expanding, as the universe is. The universe is constantly expanding, and through that expansion, the cracks show, the cracks get bigger, and what's been hidden or unveiled or stuck in the unconsciousness must come out into the surface, so that expansion can happen, so that resolution can happen. The cycle can complete. And through that completion of a cycle, through that understanding, the closing of the loops, the closing of the case, the making peace and harmony with something, that closes the loop. And from there, the next level of evolution can occur. And we cannot evolve to another level of being human whilst we've got this much heavy, unresolved, dark shit hidden under the carpet that's dragging us down, almost begging us, beckoning us with our full consciousness and our full presence to pay attention now, not try and escape it and go, oh, I'm just going to be in my own little blissful world. Be in a blissful state, absolutely. Make peace inside of yourself, absolutely. Be in truth, be in bliss, and bring that to the table, bring that to the situation. Bring your love, your consciousness, your compassion, your healing, your empathy, your ability to be aware of and not run away and not hide from what's very much needing all of our attention and our healing on this planet right now, in order that it transforms, in order that we complete the cycle, we bring resolution, we help bring peace, and from there humanity can evolve, because humanity can't evolve as a whole with this going on. We can't just say, forget it, we just not think about it and it will go away. It doesn't go away, and it won't go away. We can't evolve with that kind of past dragging behind us that's incomplete. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, it is. I'm just reading your comment, Moira. It's coming to the light. It is. So actually, for all of you beautiful souls, because I have very many people in my community, and I love you all. You're really amazing, beautiful souls. So yeah, it's very important that we stay present and stay conscious and stay in our own harmony and stay to our what we know is true, and connect very, very deeply and profoundly with ourselves and our source and our own soul within us and our own memories in our soul and our traumas in our soul. And we bring resolution and peace and harmony to that. And as we do so, we are also helping to heal the collective. And it's very, very powerful. So don't think for a second that all this effort that you're making for your healing doesn't make a difference. It massively makes a difference. Each one of us can be ambassadors for a whole, section of humanity, a whole, like I said a minute ago, a whole culture, a whole religion, a whole cult, a cult or a set of beliefs is what I mean by that, a set of beliefs and practices and rituals, or a whole family, generations of stuff that's never been healed. You are the ambassador of that. You are there making that vibrational match, doing the healing, releasing all of that stuff out of the old roots, out of that old community that had left all of that in unconsciousness. It didn't heal it. You are being the conscious transmuter of all of that dysfunction and disharmony and bringing it to full consciousness. So you are an ambassador for so much transformation that's happening on this planet. And obviously we can measure that with the Schumann resonance of the earth. We can measure that level of frequency that's happening, and it's just been off the scale recently, and Mother Earth is, her frequency is expanding. She's heightening because of all this healing work that has been happening for all of her children on earth, all of Gaia's children, all of us. And so also, once you feel strong enough, being able to actually go and give your love and your strength and your healing to the innocent ones on the planet that do need us to show up and be proper, responsible adults, and go and support those children as if they're our own, and give them healing and love and empathy, and help all those souls heal from whatever atrocities they've experienced in previous lives, and for whatever reason they chose to come onto this planet. They're all incredible angels, and they need our love and support right now more than ever. So that's really beautiful. And so in terms of my son's topic of conversation around soul disconnection, again, it's a matter of being conscious or not conscious. Now, I've been wondering about this, because a few times I've read people's souls who came from a time in an ancient culture called Atlantis, where there was genetic experiments happening, where something very similar, that I watched something very similar happening, where they were trying to separate the body and the soul, just to see what would happen, and not from an innocent curiosity, but from an intent and a desire to play God, but not even play God. That doesn't even ring true. It's like to be more powerful than the creator itself. As if you could come in and say, you know what, I'm just going to try and break perfection. and understand how it works, and then make it mine and recreate something else that's bigger and better. And that's like a super ego gone crazy. Like you see in the movies with the villains with the big heads, it's like, you know, it's like that kind of attitude of like, let's see, you know, this enormous ego, I am bigger than creator itself. And of course, it's got a lot to do with power. And anybody or any being that ever has designs like that in their ego mind, it's this overinflation of ego to be greater than the creator itself is to balance out the absolute negation of their own sense of source and soul and love. In that absence of self-connection, consciousness, love to the reality, to the creator source reality that is everywhere, in that absence, there's that overcompensation of the ego. And it's through lack, it's through a huge insecurity and a massive not feeling loved and valued and valid as a human being. That's every single time, as far as I'm concerned. There's no exception to that rule. You don't get a loving, conscious human being doing something that's very destructive to life. So I know I've seen that this has happened before in the past. I've seen other times and spaces in doing people's soul readings where it's also occurred, but I'm not going to start giving it names and dates and labels and everything. But let me just say, it's been attempted again and again for a very long time, because these super ego beings, no matter which race or culture they come from, seems to keep perpetuating. And it's that dysfunction in the human being that again seeks to be so visible, almost like a cry for help, like save me from myself. I'm out of control and I can't stop and I'm a maniac and something needs to be done. I need help. I'm vacuous in my own soul. I have zero soul connection to myself and my source. And my ego is way out of control. And actually people who have egos like that their mind is not even their own. Because of the trauma of disconnection and the sense of separation and the loss and the grief and the lack that comes with a sense of disconnection from source and a separation from love, that's the biggest trauma you can have. And so in that emptiness, in that void where that trauma exists, those people, those beings become very, very susceptible to being hijacked by other consciousnesses on the fourth dimension. Other entities, let's say. I think you're probably familiar with that word, entities. Other darker energies, nefarious energies that also feel, let's say, kicked out of heaven, or not the favorite child of the universe, rejected, unwanted, unlovable, whatever. And so they all tend to kind of join forces on that collective consciousness of, like, you know, so their minds are going to be like, our minds are like transmitters anyway. So their mind is like a super transmitter, a super highway for the dark, negative, other thoughts and forces and energies in the world. And so their mind is not even their own anymore. It's I don't know if I made that clear, but it's totally crazy what goes on in their heads. And that's why you would look at somebody like that who is completely out of control and so much power on this planet, and you think, how can that person be that way? You can't get your head around it. You can't imagine or think, because you're sane compared to that person. You're intact. You are connected to your source, your heart, your soul, your love. And that person is not. So it is really hard to relate. But on that level, also, we can look at them and go, that poor soul that is so distraught, so dysfunctional in their lack of consciousness and connection, that they've been driven to this other state, the far extreme of this other state of being. And I think that calls for a huge amount of compassion, not to tolerate it, not to allow it, no, to bring it to justice, to bring it to harmony, and to somehow like bring it into balance, and heal and repair the damage that's been done. but at the same time have compassion that that's a soul who's been driven again by purpose, by a sense of choice, that these people, or maybe you're thinking of a certain person, I know I'm thinking of a certain person that's responsible for a lot of interventions and control on this planet at the moment when I'm saying all of this, and I'm sure you can think of some people. But in a sense, they themselves they're crying out to be stopped. And that was their choice as well. I am going to do this in such a dramatic, intense way, so that this time around, in this lifetime, right, because it's an unhealed trauma, it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And through every single time that we incarnate, it's like we play the same record, but louder. And so now it's got so loud, so obvious, that we can't miss it. You have to be fully asleep to miss it and not see the people out there who are playing these super mega ego games, power games with the rest of humanity, dicing with life itself and creation itself. And whether or not you believe that some of these people have an agenda to separate others from their soul in this lifetime now, in this time in the world, whether you believe that they have this agenda to separate the body from the soul, as has been done for tens of thousands of years, or whether you don't believe that. What we can see is that when we get these power-hungry ego supermaniacs, that it's like it's going to get worse and worse and worse, so that we can all see it like a massive red flashing danger light. And that light is also saying, help. How much more of this do I have to keep doing? How much more beyond the anti or against life must I go? Must my actions reach before you recognize the massive flashing danger red light and wake up humanity and take your power back, take responsibility back? Because I've got too much power, because you abdicated all of yours. You put that money in my hand. You were the ones, we were the ones that put our money in these people's hands. We were the ones that chose, consciously or not consciously, maybe just blindly and ignorantly, and maybe we didn't care, maybe we don't want to think about him and go, yeah, I know he's a shit person, but I like the products, sue me. We did that. I've done that. I have those products. I did that. Put the money in these people's hands, and then we point the finger and go, yeah, no, he's a bad guy or she's the bad guy. We put them there, people. We voted for them, we instated them, we sign papers over to them, we sign documents that they give us and sign ourselves away. We put our children in their care, and then we complain that we don't like what's happening. It's going to get worse and worse, and it is continuing to get worse and worse until we all decide that we, number one, have a choice, and that we can actually have our voices, have our power, be in charge of our own super sovereign being, divine being, own our own state of mind and not be controlled, anchor into our own soul knowledge, our own soul library database, and take responsibility for everything that our spirit has chosen to incarnate and actualize through every lifetime that we've been on this planet. We chose, every single time we chose. And like I said, it's either a conscious choice or it's an unconscious choice. You chose without realizing. You still chose. And you can choose whether to become conscious of your choices or to remain ignorant of your choices. And even that there is a choice. oh, I don't want to know, I'm going to stay ignorant. Don't tell me about this, that, and the other. Don't tell me about this thing because I don't want to hear if it's scary. I'm just going to carry on as normal and keep replaying the same record again and again. Now, for that person, it clearly hasn't got bad enough yet. When we keep repeating the same mistakes and keep doing the same thing, clearly hasn't got bad enough. And that's why it keeps getting worse and it keeps getting worse. And more things keep happening. There are more and more red flashing lights, more obvious signs everywhere, so that as many as possible will eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later, wake up and go, oh, I've got to make a choice. Because that's how the universe works, is on choice. Choice to be conscious or not conscious, because it's going to happen anyway. And the longer we keep choosing not to be conscious, we're going to really get ourselves into some serious dark hole if we're not careful as a human species. I mean, seriously. And you know what it's like? The deeper the hole, the harder it is to get out of. And we're already, as a human species, we're already in a bit of a hole, right? We've made the same mistakes for millennia. And it's like, come on, wake up. So we're having to have super strength. And right now there's lots of heroes out there having super strength to keep uplifting and keep raising the vibration and to keep drawing people's attention and saying, everybody look at this. And it's not fear porn. It's not being negative. It's, I love you. It's time to wake up. Let's see this. Okay. So coming back to the disconnection thing real quick, can we get disconnected from our souls? Yes, we can, but only by choice. Only by either choosing to let somebody else have your soul, your source, your energy. You can give yourself away. Now, when we have traumas is when the disconnection happens. And so if you're somebody who's had repeated trauma, you're going to find it quite hard to stay connected consciously to your soul. And you're probably also going to find it quite hard to stay consciously connected to your body. And you're probably in limbo somewhere, which is what a lot of people are like. Even people that you think, oh, they're quite grounded and they're all right. No, when I see, at least through my eyes, when I see them energetically, it's like you've got a vessel with a little bit of that person's essence intact and a little bit of their soul consciousness intact, but most of it is floating and it's out there. Some of it's way out there. Some of it's like, I don't even want to come near this body because there's so much trauma and hatred and self-loathing and unhappiness that's not, you know, it doesn't fit. It's like you can't come and meet something if it's rejecting life. Does that make sense? So if you've got life rejection happening in your traumas from in this body, then you're going to be rejecting the rest of you. So how do you reverse that? You heal your trauma. You love your traumas. You love the little you that went through the traumas. You show up and take responsibility and be the best parent you can be to yourself. Be the best friend you can be to yourself, the best healer you can be to yourself. Tap into your own unique gifts and special powers, because you didn't come as an empty package. You came as a complete gift, fully packaged, fully ready, with everything that you needed for your journey. It's like the creatress source of the universe, when you were born, said, okay, you're going to inherit a lot of trauma. You're going to inherit, in your blueprint, you're going to carry a lot of karmic stuff from your ancestors and from your soul life, because we all are. And this stuff needs healing. So, there goes the backpack of that stuff. But in the backpack, hey, I've also put you this and I've put you this, so that once you start to unpack it and you unpack those traumas, you unpack that disharmony that needs to come into harmony and resolution, you will also find the gifts that were pre-packed for you, the medicine that was put in there, the supplies, the food, the nourishment, the joy, the little treasures, these little magic aspects of yourself that only you have and that only makes sense to you, maybe not even anybody else, and that's put in there especially pre-packed for you. So it's not just a one-way street of like hell and pain and suffering. It never ever ever is, because the creation behind this universe that is everything in this universe, is a benevolent, unconditionally loving source. There's no conditions. We set our own conditions. Why? Because we were given choice. And many, many times human beings' choice was to remain in ignorance. And we're paying for that, right? We were one of those people. You've incarnated again and again and again. And even if you don't believe in that, even in this lifetime now, where you've been ignorant and you chose to remain ignorant, or you chose to remain helpless, or you just went, I can't, I didn't know how. Or even if you're an innocent child and through no fault of your own, you just couldn't. At that time, now is the time where you're not that child anymore, where you can go back and go and be like, now I'm going to go and be my own hero. I'm going to be my own savior. I'm going to love myself the way I wished somebody else would have rescued and loved me. And I'm going to be that incredible, responsible, powerful, brave, evolving, awake, conscious human being, and love myself back into my body, back into connection with my source and my soul, back into my power, and own my shit, and also own my essence as sacred. Own my soul as my, if you like, your identity. It's your memories, it's everything. And it's valuable, as all stories are in this universe. It's a massive library, a massive, massive library of these incredible stories that make up life. That is treasure, and this is your treasure. So treasure it. And we don't need to be disconnected from our soul. And especially by people who are deliberately, may or may not be deliberately trying to hijack and separate human beings from their soul through some very nefarious interventions, mostly with needles and small little nanoparticles and all kinds of things that are too small to see with the naked eye, but are very obvious when you see the signs around it, that everything points to these things are not safe. And there's not an agenda of love and well-being behind it. There's a definite agenda of somebody's ego trying to be bigger and better than life itself, trying to be more important, trying to be more powerful than life itself. Now, when you look through those lenses, you'll be able to hopefully more clearly see without me naming names. It's not why I'm here, is to point fingers and name names, but you know, if it pops up in your mind, or you see it the moment you stop watching this live and something pops up for your social media, you might go, oh, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, if you have somebody like that and you're aware of somebody like that who may or may not have that agenda to separate you from your soul, sucking all your energy and attention by other means away from you for their own gain, and your money as well, just make a choice, make a conscious choice, even if you haven't done up until now. Every single moment you have the opportunity to make a new conscious choice. Even if you think, oh, I've already had that nasty shot in my arm, or I've already had this thing and I've already given so much of myself away, I may as well carry on. You can make a choice in any moment, I believe, to reclaim yourself, to reclaim your soul, to reconnect yourself back to your source. And if you want help with that, I've got so many videos where I'm helping people to do that. There's so many, I've got tons of it on my website as well, and free stuff for you. And there are many others who have. And so if you want help, ask for help, but you're the only one that can do it. It is up to you, every single one of us. No one else can do it for us. No matter how much we may love somebody and want to save their soul, actually, we can just only offer them the opportunity, but they themselves have to make a choice. And the rest of us, I feel, we have to be in peace, knowing that every soul makes their own choice, and that everything is actually okay on a divine, bigger plan scale, and everything is happening for a reason. And we might not see it all because our consciousness is fairly small. You know, maybe it's this big, maybe it's that big. but it's still fairly small compared to the all and everything and the consciousness of everything. So you might not understand it. You might not understand why it's happening or why it's for a divine reason. But in my understanding, just feel it with your heart that actually everything is exactly as it should. And there's more amazing things than we can ever know. And we are evolving. We are moving through this and we're doing a really good job. So keep going. Choose love, choose consciousness, choose connection to yourself, your source, your soul. And thank you for being here. Completely love you. Let me have a look. And thank you all for watching as well. Yeah, and if you think that, thank you, Lisa. And if you think that this is useful, yeah, and Donna's saying AI entities are definitely hijacking many. It is unimaginably gross. We know who you're referring to. Yeah, I know you know who I'm referring to, but you know, it's not about pointing the fingers, because actually, in a way, what we have to do is not point the finger at ourselves like in a mean and judgmental way, but own it and go, hold on, I put this person in power. I abdicated myself, my resources, I gave it away, and this power, this person took it. So it's not like point the finger at them and say, yeah, they're bad. Let's help rescue those people who have totally lost the plot and got far too much power. And let's take the power off them and help ourselves and balance everything else out again. And everything will be just fine. And we can do that very quickly. That doesn't take months. That doesn't take years. It doesn't take a long time. So maybe you could help spread this message. Maybe you can help remind everybody, hey, you know you have a choice, right? You have a choice to own yourself or give yourself away. You have a choice to be conscious or not conscious. Which choice are you going to make? And engage with people and discuss without judgment, just with love. Okay, you know it's time to evolve, right? You know, you know that this all needs healing, and bring it all back into harmony. And if you think that what I've shared here makes sense and it's helpful, it's been quite, I found it a little bit hard to find the right words tonight and to kind of put it into a context that you could understand. So I hope it all makes sense. And if you find this helpful, then please share this video. And obviously, I'm not getting anything out of it personally. It's just the fact that the more of us that are switched on and making these conscious choices, the more fun we're going to have and the lighter work we can make of all of this together. And as you know, I very, very much believe and know that we are all here to bring more love into this world and to close all the gaps and to heal up all the cracks of the past and to expand together. And where we go one, we go all. I really feel and believe that truth. So much love to you. Thank you for listening, and keep sharing your beautiful life.